10-second security tip. Go.
I would say stop being the toll booth. When people reach out to you and they ask you questions about a certain control, what is the best practice, how was it designed, how does it need to be operated, own the decision and share the decision. Because you'll lose credibility if you don't move fast with guardrails.
It's time to begin the CISO Series podcast.
Welcome to the CISO Series podcast. I am David Spark. I'm the producer of the CISO Series, and joining me since episode 1, we're recording this actually just a few weeks after our 8-year anniversary. It is Mike Johnson, the CISO of Rivian. Mike, say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience. It's amazing to believe it's been 8 years, David.
It's been 8 years, and you had no idea when I took you out to lunch this was going to happen at all. Neither did I, for that matter.
Who knew what would happen?
By the way, that was a money well spent on a lunch. I will say that. We are available at CISOseries.com, where we have 4 other programs that launched not too long after that first episode, which was 8 years ago. Go check them all out. Our sponsor for today's episode, which has been a phenomenal sponsor of the CISO series, responsible for us to continue these 8 years, it is none other than Vanta. Trust is everything. Earn and prove it with Vanta. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that today and our guests, courtesy of Vanta. But before I do that, now one thing that's been sort of a chronic joke in cyber, Mike, is how everything is XYZ with AI, this with AI, right?
Sure. Yep.
Well, we're like operating our own bubble. And it isn't just security that gets XYZ with AI. So just a quick story. So I live in San Diego. I like to go to these entrepreneur meetups and meet other entrepreneurs and hear what they're doing. Now, as you might imagine, I'm in Southern California. It's San Diego. There's a lot of sort of beach people, a lot of sort of earthy characters.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there are many stores with psychics and healing and crystals and things like that.
Okay.
And people giving you advice on how to lead and run your life in general.
Sure.
Now you get that with AI.
Oh, no.
Yes. The number of entrepreneurs I've met who essentially that same shtick, if you will, or however you want to describe it, or however you feel about it. But now it's AI. For example, I met this one woman who is starting a business, hasn't launched it, but the idea is she will look at the way you lead your life, Mike. So how you sleep, how much coffee you drink, anything else behavioral in your life, and tell you what's the best time you should schedule a meeting so you perform at your best.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's...
Is that a service you find yourself paying for?
Yes. But what's interesting about that and the kind of the correlation with that is there are entire tech companies who are essentially front ends to AI. Mm-hmm. Like they're just a UI on top of ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or what have you. And all these are going to go away.
I know. And I was talking to these other women who, said, we'll help you design your business model. Well, we did it ourselves. We asked AI and
just type.
It did it. And I go, and so what would stop anyone from doing exactly the same thing you did?
Exactly. That is the problem every one of these companies has.
So we are not the only ones that are getting fooled by businesses slapping on AI. It's trickling everywhere.
It's good to know that there are bad ideas everywhere.
Yes, there are. But you know what? Here's the thing about bad ideas. I am sure, like the ones I just mentioned, I will be proven so wrong. It'll be a colossal hit. And I go, look what a moron I was.
Good for them.
Yes.
Good for them.
I don't begrudge anyone from their success, but I heard that. I'm like, really? And also, you know this, like something becomes a smash success, like a movie or an artist, and you're like, really? Someone wants to watch that, listen to it? Guess so.
Yeah, there is an audience for every show.
Exactly. And with that being said, This show is not infused with AI. It is actually my voice recording it and Mike's voice recording it and my guest, who we're going to introduce in just a moment. Our return guest, thrilled to have her back, with Vanta, the Senior Director of GRC, our sponsor guest, Kush Kashyap. Kush, thank you so much for coming on back.
Oh, thank you so much, David. It's always a pleasure.
Is this the best use of my money?
Quote, the user sees 6 words. The system processes a small novel. Barbara Roos of Starboard Collectives argued at AI Field Day 8 that employees are burning tokens with no awareness of what they're consuming. Now, we took this up on our B-Sides SF Live show, where you were there, Mike. And the frame shifted pretty fast. So Jensen Huang, who is the CEO of NVIDIA, reportedly wants his $400K a year engineers spending $200K a year on tokens. That's the goal, which is understandable from his viewpoint, as you pointed out. So the premise that organizations should steer employees toward token literacy before costs spiral assumes the wrong problem. Roos complains that ROI measurement and token awareness are the same conversation, falls apart if experimentation is the ROI during early adoption. So is watching how employees use AI just micromanagement with an infrastructure budget attached, which is the way I saw it originally? Or do people actually need to know what a token is? Or do they just need access and room to run? Mike, what does this say about your AI strategy if you're managing prompt efficiency instead of outcomes? What do you think?
I do wonder, that quote from Jensen was quite a while ago.
Right. So this was February, I think.
It's amazing how quickly these things move these days. And I don't know.
Like AI.
My guess is he's changed his mind since then. You've got the case of someone at Uber saying that they had blown through their entire year's budget in a few months.
There was some story that some company had like a $500 million token expense.
It was, I don't know there was 500 million, but Uber's was way up there. And that's what they were talking about. But I think right now is probably not the right time to be concentrating on ROI. We're very much in the experimentation phase.
And do you say that to your staff? Because I've said it to my staff. I go,
oh, yes.
Please feel free to experiment.
Yes, absolutely. And we have quotas attached with our AI usage, and we manage that. And my way of looking at it is, if someone on my team comes to me and says, hey, I want to spend more, I just approve it. Like, let's go. Let's experiment and let's see where this is going to take us. And I think that's one of the things that companies need to think about is the costs right now are not going to be the same runtime costs in the future.
That's a good point.
We're going to settle down on how we use these tools. And in this day and age, how we use it today is not how we're going to use it in the future. And so I think the idea of teaching people what tokens is, that doesn't make sense. Like they don't need to know what a token is.
It's also kind of confusing.
It's confusing, and it can also change.
Right. I mean, it's a made up thing. It's like cryptocurrency. Like,
yes.
Who friggin' knows?
Yes. I mean, it has an underlying technical meaning, but it doesn't matter. What matters is how much you're spending and what value are you getting out of it. And right now, that value is more in the R&D phase than it is in actual hard business outcomes.
Token usage is your R&D budget. All right, Kush, I like that. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, and by the way, have you seen this trend? Because I think these stories of these ludicrous budgets being blown is shocking people. Because like people are like, yes, we want to be aggressive. Like, oh, I didn't realize how aggressive we can be. Your thoughts?
Yes, totally. I think I have personally seen it in several companies I've been at as well. But one thing that I do want to mention here, which is slightly different take.
Sure.
is that I think more than just understanding what our usage is in terms of tokens, we are also at a point now where we can start developing taste and judgment. We should start asking ourselves, if we are building something, is it going to be used by various people? Is it going to add value for the company, for the business, for the security function? Is it efficient? Do we know what good looks like? Which model to reach for? when to push and when to use something else. For example, you may not want to use your most expensive model on like a Slack conversation framing.
Right.
You don't want to use it for drafting a Google, a Gmail message, but you may want to use it when you're thinking about like a gnarly architecture, or when you're thinking about creating a PRD for the next set of AI-driven vulnerability management task tracker. So there are different things around taste and judgment, which we should also, I feel like we are at a place where we can start experimenting with quality as much as we hone in on usage. Because I don't think fixating on token efficiency right now is a good thing. We should focus on what good output looks like, what good adoption looks like. How will we make sure that what we are building is going to be useful for our company, for our business, for our security teams, instead of wasting a lot of money in just trying to see what sticks on the wall.
It's time to measure the risk.
Not every risk can or should be reduced to a dollar amount or outage scenario, end quote. Now that's William McBurrow, CISO at MC Global Tech, pushing back on the playbook CISOs have been handed for executive conversations. Tie everything to money, downtime, or data loss, and you'll get the room. But he's pointing at something the standard framework glosses over. The risks that shape a business for years, eroded customer confidence, a compliance lapse that delays market entry, an insider event that exposes proprietary designs, those do not always register on next quarter's balance sheet. So the question his piece opens up is the harder one. What exactly are those risks, and how do you make them land with a CEO who hears risk and thinks cost? So I'll start with you, Kush, on this one. How do you build a case for something you can describe but can't price? And at what point does the push to quantify everything make your risk conversations less honest? Because you find that you're trying to like push, a round peg into a square hole kind of a thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I also want to throw in a caveat here. Back in 2016, I spent a whole 2 years doing risk quantification and selling risk quantification models to some of the largest tech companies in the world and some of the largest financial services companies in the world. But those were the same questions that were being asked then, is the same question that are being asked now. How do we know it's accurate? How do we know financially it will hold up? So, I mean, having struggled with it in a very close basis, what I can say is I have realized over time that the most important risks are not the ones which are quantified in dollar terms, but they are around eroding customer trust or a compliance gate that locks you out of a market potential or a proprietary IP getting lost.
Well, essentially business brand damaging.
Absolutely.
And I would assume every business understands that their brand is their most valuable asset.
Exactly. And I also think that the way you make them land with the CEO isn't that this risk is this amount of dollar. It's about the decision. If we ship something without security controls, here is the deal we can lose. Here is the market we won't be able to enter to. Here is the customer commitment and the obligation we promise to respect. We are breaking that. If we anchor it to the promises and the controls the company has, it made. Now we are talking about tracking those things, and a risk is tied to a specific commitment the CEO personally signed off on. And it lands harder and better than a quantified number that people are always going to question. And you don't want your discussion to be around where did the number come from? How do we know it's accurate? What's the model behind it? What's the formula behind it?
And then you're defending something completely different.
Exactly. And you'll be spending your time on making your decisions better, making the people in the room accountable for the risks that they need to drive to mitigation. And you'll be spending your time on better places instead of analysis paralysis.
And speaking of spending your time on something, at the beginning I mentioned the metaphor of the round peg in the square hole, which I did in reverse because you could actually fit a round peg into a square hole. You can't fit a square peg into a round hole. So I don't want any letters about that because I do know what I said, which was the complete opposite of the appropriate. This is like when people say, oh, I did a complete 360 when they meant a 180. So I pulled one of those is what I did just there, Mike.
Well, actually, David,
Yes.
You just need a smaller peg and it'll fit just fine.
It'll fit fine. You know what, if your deal. No, but if I have a very large round peg trying to fit into a small square hole, I can't do that.
You just need a bigger hammer is what it comes down to.
All right. But I'm sure, by the way, Mike, you've been a CISO for a long time. You've had to describe risk God knows how many different ways. I'm sure you've beaten your head over, how am I going to describe this? How are we going to prove this? How are we going to explain this? I mean, let me ask this. Look at your first year as a CISO and now. What is the thing that you know about risk now and sort of quantifying and explaining it that you did not know that first year?
I think a lot of it is a realization that so much of our job is about storytelling. Mm-hmm. And I have long wanted to put numbers to everything. I'm an engineer by training, and so I always wanted to put numbers on things. And risk quantification seemed like this amazing opportunity to do that. And what I've come to realize is it is but one tool in our quiver, and it's not necessarily going to be the best one to tell the story, to convince folks that you need to go in a direction. And one of the things that I was, as I was listening to Kush, there's the quote that says, if you're explaining, you're losing. And if you're spending all of your time defending why this is going to cost this amount, explaining the model, you've already lost. And the story is not going the way that you want it to. So I really think the biggest thing that I've learned is so much of it is about being able to tell a story that the point that you're trying to get across is what people come away with, not, well, why did you name the character that? Like you don't want them going down off script in a direction that is totally tangential from the point that you're trying to make.
What's the one thing in business that's spreading as fast as AI? AI risk. Every new tool your team signs up for, every vendor that turns on AI features, every new integration, each one is an opportunity for something to go wrong. And most security programs weren't built for AI's pace of growth. I mean, geez, nothing was. But this is where Vanta enters. Vanta is the #1 agentic trust platform used by over 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey to ensure they're always audit ready. And now, Vanta is helping companies like yours watch for the risks that show up between audits across your vendors, your AI tools, and your whole environment. Now, how do they do this? Well, the Vanta agent works like a 24/7 GRC engineer in the background, finding issues, drafting fixes for you, and cutting vendor assessment time by up to 50%. Now, whether you're a fast-growing startup or a global enterprise, Vanta is here to help you automate your security and compliance and earn and prove trust. That is important. So get started today at vanta.com/CISO. And it's spelled VANTA.com/CISO. So vanta.com/CISO. Do me a favor, add that CISO. Easiest way to let Vanta know that you learned about them from the CISO series.
It's time to play What's Worse?
Kush, you've played last time. Now, do you remember if you agreed or disagreed with our guest last time we played?
I think I agreed on a couple and I disagreed on at least 2.
Okay, well, there'd be issues, I guess, because there's only...
Issues, yes.
We're only going to play one round of this, but I'm going to make Mike answer first.
Yes.
And since we've been talking about AI here, guess what? This one has to do with AI.
Great. Maybe I'll ask AI the answer.
We could. I never thought about that. I mean, I get my 2 guests and go, by the way, this is what AI said.
Yeah.
This comes from one of our listeners who has sent us many wonderful What's Worse scenarios. It is Dustin Sachs of CyberCog Labs. And here you go. Scenario #1, your agentic AI starts taking all actions without your permission, okay, everything, or the complete opposite. Your agentic AI asks for permission on every single action. We're talking thousands upon thousands of actions. So which one is worse, Mike?
It's funny that as we're recording this, literally yesterday, I was doing something with AI and I had to just keep hitting the enter key over and over and over again.
You know what this reminds me of? Did you ever see the TV series Lost, where like X number of hours they had to just press a button, and they didn't have a clue what the button was doing, but they had to do it because if it didn't happen, something horrible would happen?
That's a different perspective than what I remember is when Homer Simpson had the dunking duck that he put over the button at work. So I like your callback better than mine. It adds more urgency to it. So I as I think about these two scenarios, it's like you've got one which is like default open versus default closed, right? Like you've got, it'll just do anything, everything. You can't stop it.
Essentially, there are problems on both sides of this.
Exactly.
And let me qualify what Dustin says, which I think he sets it up nice. One is the goal. I mean, the goal is the first scenario. It is, kind of. Yeah. But it's problematic today. And the second is safer, but it completely defeats the purpose of agentic AI and actually makes your life far, far more miserable.
Well, I mean, he just answered it with that, right? Like, because
but which one's worse?
Well, I think the point is today, which again, like the scenario, we don't get to change things.
Right.
The point is today, the one that hasn't really gained the trust to operate fully autonomously, that is the one that's the bigger risk. Mm-hmm. The second one is a user experience nightmare. Like, that's terrible. But that's going to...
Well, okay, and then I'll back up a step here, Mike. Both are very damaging to the business.
Oh, I'm again, the point is they're both terrible.
Yes.
Just in different ways.
Exactly.
And that's usually the point of these is... Yeah. Because if it was easy, if like one of them wasn't terrible, then problem solved.
That sometimes happens and I'm not aware of it.
But I really think, today, maybe we dust this one off again in a year and see what the answer is. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that we've quite reached a comfort level with agents that we can just let them just run completely unsupervised and just do whatever the heck that they want. So I think today the first one is the worst.
But your answer may change a year or 2 years from now.
Frankly, I hope it changes in the future.
Well, again, like Dustin said, the first one is the goal.
Absolutely.
It's totally the goal. All right. Kush, do you agree or disagree with Mike here?
Gosh, it's so hard to disagree on it. Like, there is a portion of my team who is in charge of making sure that the agents we ship have human in the loop, quality assessment, everything done, accuracy is high. You can't get there when you let your agent run, even with guardrails, run loose and have no human in the loop to check what it's doing. You don't want to make any material changes on what's going to impact your audit later, when your auditor will ask you, who made this change? Why was this change made? Show me the history. Walk me through it. What are we going to say? So that's a nightmare. Yes, it's inconvenient to keep clicking yes, allow, but I would rather have the inconvenience than like a poorly drafted design control.
Also, it's going to bring your employees, first of all, it's going to bring your employees' productivity to a screeching halt. Let me throw some other things. I'm playing devil's advocate here. How many people are going to be enjoying their job doing this all day, not getting access to anything else? You may lose staff. I'm just throwing, there's a scenario that goes wider than this, but then let me throw this else out is, we know that if you let AI run rampant, it's going to be a matter of very little time before starts hitting the wall. Give you an example, Mike. When I was working at ZDTV, the television cable network, which later became known as Tech TV, for one of our shows called The Screensavers, we had a computer called the virus computer that was purposely set up with no protection on it whatsoever. No antivirus. And the joke was, how quickly could we get a virus? How quickly could this be? And it would sometimes be minutes. It'd be like the speed was. So I think the same thing would happen here, Kush, as well. It's like Well, let's give this a whirl. What's the speed we're going to have problems? Because we know it's not like it's going to run for months and we're going to be talking minutes or a day at max, yes?
I think so.
It's going to be pretty fast. But also, who knows? Maybe it couldn't be that damaging.
Maybe it'll fix itself.
I like that idea, Mike. Oh, Mike, you are very, very optimistic, aren't you?
Ever the optimist, David. Ever the optimist.
I'm sorry. So I cut you off, Kush. Any last thoughts on this?
No, I actually do agree with Mike on this one. Sorry, David. But I have to say, I hope we can revisit this answer in a year. Mm-hmm. And hopefully our answer will change and we will be able to trust the models to make decisions and to carry out actions without losing sleep over them and without losing the trust of our stakeholders.
I argue that the second one could be worse because the employees are going to be so annoyed, so irritated, they're going to learn nothing, and they're going to be very disturbed, and they may leave the company. Although I think in the first scenario, the company will fall apart before that could happen.
Exactly.
Please, enough. No, more.
All right, today's topic, Kush, Mike, is security team resilience. I'm going to start with you, Mike, on this one. What have you heard enough about with security team resilience? And by the way, this whole discussion of security shifted to the term resilience a long time ago. Like a few years ago, we started talking more about resilience than just, quote, security, because we all realized that 100% was impossible. So what have you heard enough about with security team resilience, and what would you like to hear a lot more about?
So when I hear the term security team resilience, I mean like the humans. I hear the resilience of the team. And so when I hear that, I go kind of the opposite side of this. Like, what is the opposite of security team resilience? And to me, that's burnout. That is where you have folks who are just working too hard. They will just eventually crack and they'll leave, to our last discussion, deliver subpar work. It's a bad outcome. And I think we've been trying to solve that with either, we'll just give them more vacation or we'll hire more people. And I think that's really the challenge that I see and what I've heard too much of is those are the wrong ways to manage burnout and drive towards a resilient team. So what I'd like to hear more is, frankly, how do you do more with the team that you have and actually make them more resilient rather than just looking at it as, I'll just hire my way out of this.
Very few people can pull that off, by the way. I don't think I've ever heard success on that. All right, Kush, I will ask you the same question. What have you heard enough about? And what would you like to hear a lot more about with regards to security team resilience?
Yeah, I have a spicy take on this.
Let's hear it.
So in terms of what I've heard enough about is the whole resilience as like a wellness culture vibe in companies, right? Especially when it comes to this.
Welcome to San Diego, by the way. Come here. We can help you with all of that and put a little AI on it too while you're at it.
Can't wait to visit. But that being said, I do see resilience as nothing but delayed attrition with better branding. Mm-hmm. Because what are we doing to the folks on our team by saying that absorb more with the same headcount? We are essentially saying double the workload, triple the workload, thanks to AI, mm-hmm. which is, we are still figuring it out. What does good look like? What tools can we build where we can really depend upon it solely, where we can't? What I would like to see more of is creating better structures, creating better processes, and yes, scaling, but scaling in a manner that's not going to burn out people and actually taking work away from their plate when they are doing these projects. When they are trying to scale and trying to put the processes in, taking away some of the work so that the team is not always running on like 100 miles per hour with creating single point of failure and creating a risk for the business, for the security of the organization, and the way everyone is operating. So I think that's really important because the honest conversation here is the workload has exploded. Even when we are adding more to our plate, thanks to AI, we have so many more non-human identities to manage. There is an agentic sprawl. CISOs cannot say no as much as they could do before to vendors and to especially to like AI models and AI vendors. The complexity curve is real as well. So we can't always keep matching that entire curve and all that work with just efficiency. We need to have a better, more moderate conversation about it.
We at the CISO series have found that we find these single projects at a time and are looking for ways to get AI to help us make it more efficient. I'll take a perfect example. If you've seen on our CISO series page, we always post these quotes that, like from this episode, we'll pull 3 quotes from you and from Mike, and we'll create like this little meme image and we'll post it. This was done very manually, and it took upwards, like we would do like 6 to 8 episodes, and creating all those quotes, that could take us days to do. Days. We're now down to a few hours.
Wow.
But it did not happen overnight by any stretch. And it didn't go from days to a couple hours. It went from days down to a day and a half, down to a day, then to a number of hours. Like, we kept finding these things. And I think that's where we have to sort of accept that's how the discovery of efficiency will happen, is that it will not happen overnight, but you'll see incremental steps. And can you give me an example, either one of you, of something that you've done incremental steps and gotten from a thing that took days or a week down to maybe even hours? I don't know. Can you give me an example?
I think the best example is we have over time built all of our incident response playbooks, and they were designed to be run by humans. And they starts off with very manual, you figure it out, you eventually write down the process, you improve the process, and now we're able to turn some of those over to agents to actually operate. And so that's a journey of years in order to get there. So that's the first one that comes into my mind.
And ours took years too, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Kush, this is kind of the bailiwick for Vanta. This is what you've been doing. And by the way, there has been AI infused in Vanta for a few years now. I'm sure what you guys had 2 years ago, a year ago, a few months ago, and today, completely different, yes?
Yes, completely. A good example that I'll say is when we first released our MCP server capability, we used to take a look at how can we use our MCP server to build on top of Vanta. Because there were certain nuances or certain reports that we wanted that don't come out of the box. Like maybe our CISO wants to see something which is very risk-driven in certain area of the business and very contractual obligation-driven in another area of the business. How can we create these nuanced reports? It used to take days and sometimes weeks of review and making sure the messaging gets correct. But now the first draft, thanks to the MCP server and getting all that data in and drawing that analysis from all the different types of data elements that we have, from trust, from risk, from governance, from policies, from how our automated tests are doing, all these different signals come together and create the first draft of the report. So then we are thinking about, is the story right? Who's the audience? Will it sit right with them? Instead of just going through days of identifying the data and making sense out of it and creating visuals for it. So that's just a good example of every quarter or every month when we go into our risk meetings and our risk decisions, how much work has been taken away from some of my team members' plate and what do they do instead with it, which is getting in the meetings and having active conversations about why is your roadmap this and doesn't include more things around security. How can we identify more areas of work around security and add it to engineering and IT's roadmap, which are better discussions to have than spending time on just analyzing the data.
Are we creating more problems?
Quote, security outcomes follow incentives, not intent. Joshua Copeland of Crescendo frames this as a security problem, but it starts upstream. The compliance-first spending he flags isn't what executives choose over resilience. It's what keeps the business running at all. Whatever survives that baseline is what goes towards actually securing the environment. He's right that it's an alignment problem, but the incentives start with regulators and insurers, not executives. So the harder question is whether you could flip the sequence and build genuine resilience first, earning compliance as a byproduct. This would be nice. Could you get your SOC 2 through actually securing the environment rather than documenting it? And I'll start with you, Kush, on this. And as long as regulators set the starting conditions, is there any realistic path to reordering where those incentives point? What do you think, Kush?
I think for your first half of your question, if done right, the compliance artifact should be a byproduct of security you're already doing.
I mean, that is the ideal path, yes?
Yes, absolutely. You've designed your amazing controls. They're operating really well. They should be producing their own evidence. So the teams should not be optimizing for the audit artifact. They should be identifying, have you scoped your control to the most critical areas of your organization? And are you monitoring it continuously? Are you getting the trends and the data to reflect where stuff needs to be worked upon further? But while I'm saying that, the fix is not to abandon audits and compliance altogether, but it's about how do you make your security posture really better? And how do you make it the source of the truth for your audits and for your compliance activities? I think that's the most important thing. It shouldn't be about checklist. It shouldn't be about going through every single audit for every single geolocation. It should be about how your controls are operating that you have designed to be operating in your environment and whether that's meeting the intent of your audits or not. I think it's the other way around. But I love the point that you made about the restructuring of the order. Mm-hmm. And you said that the incentives start with regulators and insurers. I think that even further, more important than that, the incentives actually start with the market. They start with the customers and the trust. You know, enterprise buyers and auditors gate deals on trust continuously. That's moving faster than any regulator. And it rewards the companies that are actually secure rather than the ones with like the best audit workbook and the best binder is all I can say there.
All right. Mike, good takes. I'm assuming you like to have a security program first that is also compliant rather than building a compliance program and go, okay, now let's build the security program. Am I right on that thinking?
For sure. And I think if you were to rewind and really look through, like move like a slider through the history of a security program, almost always they start with, hey, we need a security program, and then the need for compliance comes later. I have a hard time putting myself in a place where you start with, hey, let's go do compliance and then let's go do security. Yeah. I genuinely think that it starts with security. I know it can, to some people, feel like the opposite after the program is already up and running. And I think that's where people get frustrated, is it feels like compliance is leading the program by the nose rather than the other way around. And I think that really just comes back to what Kush was describing of, if you do it right, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like the compliance is a byproduct. And I mean, to be fair, there's always some additional work. You always have to do some documentation. You always have to write things down in order to have a compliant program.
Well, AI can start writing a lot of this stuff down for you.
Well, it's being written down. Maybe it is, an agent that is writing it down, but it does have to be documented, because the whole point of compliance is to actually have something that somebody else, a third party, can review and say, yep, looks good. You're doing security right. And they can't get into your mind. So there has to be something, some evidence that you're showing to them. So that's always going to be there. But the magic is how do you make it feel like that is no additional work? And that's what changes things.
Very good point. By the way, soon, AI tool coming to you, getting into your mind.
Oh, gosh.
It'll happen. Count on it.
I feel sorry for that agent. It's going to have its own issues when it does that.
This brings us to the very end of the show. So now that we realize that it's going to be kind of a Men in Black moment where your brains are going to be taken over, I want to thank our guest, Kashyap, with Vanta. I'm going to let you have the very last word here, Kush, but I also want to thank your company, Vanta. Remember, go to Vanta.com for all your compliance needs. And they have iteratively figured out, and they continuously iteratively figure out how to speed up your entire process. Go along the journey with Vanta. Go check them out. Vanta.com/CISO, Vanta.com/CISO. Do me a favor, add the /CISO when you go check them out. Easiest way to let them know that you heard about them from the CISO series. Mike, any last words about today's show?
Kush, genuinely thank you for joining us. I really appreciated you kind of walking through some of your history of your career and talking about how risk quantification 10 years ago seemed amazing. And, here you are still in risk management even after going that deep. So thank you for bringing that experience to the conversation, sharing your perspectives, and really let us think about risk in a more holistic way. So thank you very much. It was great chatting with you.
Awesome. And Kush, I'm tossing this to you. First, we always like to ask, are you hiring at Vanta? And B, anything like you would like to offer to our audience or tell us about what's new with Vanta?
Yes. So selfishly, I do want to get the hiring plug-in.
Okay.
I am building out a GRC experts team right now at Vanta. So if you're a practitioner who thinks of GRC as being engineered instead of audit and checklist, please come find me on LinkedIn and apply to the roles.
We will have a link to Kush's LinkedIn profile on the blog post for this episode. Go on. Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I always learn so much from the CISO series, and having an opportunity to have a real-time connection with people like you, it's just so much thrilling and some of the best parts of my month when I get to do this and learn so much in like one sitting.
We love hearing that.
And the other thing that I'm also very excited about is the future of GRC. I love that we are going agentic. I love that we have MCP server. We have all this data in front of us and we can analyze it in record-breaking speed like we have never been able to do before. So I think my only thing to all the GRC practitioners out there is engineer the data more, build tooling on top of it. We are not here to see the next thing that's getting released or the next feature that's getting released. We are here to build our unicorn, valuable GRC program, reports, and everything the CISO and the board deserves, and do everything ourselves in an engineering way. So GRC engineering is here to stay, and I hope you all make the best use of all this technology.
Awesome. Thank you, Kush. Thank you, Mike. And thank you to our audience. As I always say, and truly mean, we greatly appreciate your contributions. In fact, send me a lot more what's worse scenarios. And listening to the CISO Series podcast.
That wraps up another episode. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do. We have lots more shows on our website, CISOseries.com. Please join us on Fridays for our live shows, Super Cyber Friday, our virtual meetup, and Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review. This show thrives on your input. Go to the Participate menu on our site for plenty of ways to get involved, including recording a question or a comment for the show. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, contact David Spark directly at david@cisoseries.com. Thank you for listening to the CISO Series podcast.